read something or come across something, that's where I go to sort it out. And I was in the hammock, and I actually had my Sky Guide on my phone because I love that. So when I saw what was happening, I just tossed it up there to get, what constellation this was in and the information because I was filing a report.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when I'm trying to send the report into MUFON, it wouldn't take it. It would not send. After all the work I did filling that sucker out too. But there's been a lot of activity, and I did actually watch a fireball, and it was green, and it just was like, choo, and stopped like the Roadrunner.
Yeah, yep. Mm-hmm.
I was just like, okay, that's different, because I've seen them, everybody's seen them, as they just go across the sky and leave such a pretty trail, and
Well, meteorites, bolides, and those kind of things, shooting stars. They're very distinguishable from everything else. But when you see something that's, I've seen green, I've seen red, and the one I'm going to say blue, but it could have been green and just the way the low cloud cover was that particular evening. But to see it go across, and you can pick them up way out in the horizon.
Mm-hmm.
And I had moved from where I was. I bought a home in another location, another county, where I have open sky all around me, so it's great. But I was only here about 3 or 4 weeks, and I watched one come out of the horizon, and it was moving like a bat. It was just going, and it went past visual straight line for me, and just off to my left a little bit, and stopped. And I'm like, what the hell was that?
Right.
And it hung there for a little bit, and then off it went again. And I'm like, now wait a minute, that don't happen. That's not right. And so it's just strange that for the last few years it's been kind of run of the mill stuff. But this year, 2018, late 2017, 2018, all up till now, including now, we're just getting these bizarre reports, and they got to be investigated, they got to be researched.
Absolutely.
I was only living here. We had just moved in, had been here maybe a month, and I got a report on our website, and I called the guy, and I looked at the number, and it kind of looked familiar, only because of the area code in the first 3 digits. And I'm going like, the guy lives right in this area. He's right in, close to where I live. So I contacted him, and he had a bipedal canine report. And he said, can I give the report over the phone, or can I come down? And I said, well, where are you at? And he gives me the location he's at. I said, well, you're about 10 minutes up the road from me. So he and his wife came down in a driving rainstorm. It was raining so hard I couldn't even see him when they pulled in my driveway. And he proceeds to give me all this information and the time, the date, and what he saw, and the description. And I'm going like, wow. And then he tells me where it was, and he says, I don't know if you're familiar with this mountain. I said, I grew up at the base of that mountain. I said, I know every inch of that mountain. So we went up to where he said it happened a couple of days later. And there's all kind of ground tore up, just broken branches everywhere.
Oh, wow.
Exactly where he said it started, and where it crossed the road in front of him, went into the other side. And then, we followed the track down, I don't know, maybe 50, 60 yards, and then just went away. It's just gone. But the thing that caught my attention during the whole thing was, he said, as he saw it come out onto the road, he slowed down and stopped. It didn't stop, and it wasn't running, but it just casually walking across. And that's when he noticed the legs being very muscular and hawked. And then it turned its head toward him, and it just kept walking onto the other side of the road and then down this trail area. That's when he saw the flash of light. Now, we have never had any bipedal reports with a flash of light. We had the one with the aura around it,
right,
but never with a flash of light.
Well, you know what, Butch? I'm going to stop you right here, because this is going to take another couple of minutes, because I feel my questions coming on. and we have to take a break. But we'll be back in 3 minutes, so y'all just enjoy this.
You are listening to WBHM, Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Welcome back. You are listening to Fate Radio. I am Kat Hobson, your host, with my guest, Butch Witkowski. And we are discussing just the bizarre turn of events that are happening. I have some theories of my own relevant to things that different psychics have been telling me, relevant to things in retrograde, things not in retrograde, sensitives who are experiencing bizarre things too. But this is really, Butch, just unheard of.
Yeah, it's kind of squirrely. It just... like I said before, if I was getting one or two reports, every couple of weeks, that's one thing. But we're getting reports pretty much every other day. And not just here, all over the place. I mean, West Virginia, California, Texas, Canada. We just sent one down to Australia. So it is really totally off the wall that this stuff is happening the way it's happening. The gentleman that does my website, I'm having him do something where it's kind of like a setup where they can make a report, they can write it, they can email it, they can actually hit a button and contact me by phone.
I saw that.
So we're trying to get that set up, but it is unreal. I mean, missing persons, abduction, especially abductions, which are very few and far between.
Normally.
Even the people that do abduction work, I mean, that's all they do. Very few cases do they have. We've had 3 this month. That's crazy.
That is crazy. What type of abductions? Conscious abductions or?
Well, the one, of course, is the lady that's being levitated. I mean, she fights it off. But we have one in Upper New York State. I think there's from what I'm gathering from the reports and correspondence back and forth, I think we have probably a minimum of 3 people in the same family that are going through this. 2 live together. 1 lives about 32 miles or so away from the other part of the family. But their descriptions go way back in time to when they were children and young children. I mean, I think the oldest girl was 6 when it started with her. And it's gone on till this day. Now, she keeps track of her own children and her husband. They don't have any issues at all, but she goes through this pretty much once a month. And, she's been involved with some researchers in that area where, she's done the lie detector test. She's done the background thing. She's done everything that you can do.
Well, can I interrupt you here to ask a question?
Sure.
Well, physiologically, is she postmenopausal, premenopausal? Post? Because I know that hormones can do really bizarre things, and people mock that, but it's not something that's unheard of. That's why I was curious, especially since it seems to be cyclic.
Well, look at it this way. Those same people that say that are the same people that tell young ladies if they have their menstrual cycle that they can go out in bear-loaded woods.
You can't even be around a stallion if that's the case.
It's just the way it is.
It is the way it is. They're still an animal.
Yeah. So, whether it's you're going out to just play patty cake or you're going to become lunch, one or the other. But it's, and the other case that's kind of intriguing is a gentleman who he can relate. Now he is, let me get his age right here. I think he's 57. He's 57 years old. Was married, 1 child, wife and child were killed in a car accident many years ago. So he lives by himself. Does have a girlfriend, but that's an on and off thing, I guess. He said he can tell a day ahead of time they're coming for him.
Really?
And I said, well, how can you do that? He says, I know, I feel it. I know they're coming. He said, so I just go sit in the chair and wait. And I said, so what happens when they come? And he says, well, we go. And I said, where do you go? He says, doors are locked. Everything's locked up. And he said, next thing I know, I am outside and I'm going up into a light. And he said, then the light goes off. And he said, I come back 8-10 hours later. And I went and where are you when you wake up? He said, exactly in the same chair where they found me. And I said, well, how do you know that you were taken? Maybe it's just a bad dream.
Right.
Maybe it's a dream or something like that. He said, well, twice I've come back missing an article of clothing, or I've come back with clothing on backwards. He said, I went with a jacket one time, a light jacket, and he said, I came back and the jacket was on backwards. The zipper was in the back. I said, so why is that strange? He said, it was zipped up. I went, that's strange.
That would be strange.
Yep, that got my attention. So,
well, Whitley Strieber would be taken, when he became aware that he was being abducted, it would be an awareness quotient also. Mm-hmm. When he first became aware. And now he's accepted it and fairly embraced it.
Well, there's a lot of people. But there's a lot of people that have, had that happen and have, like you said, embraced it. This guy, he sort of just kind of takes it for granted that, this is going to happen, and he knows when it's going to happen, and he just prepares himself for it, and it happens, and it's all over. I said, have you ever suffered? But he's
completely unaware of what's happening while he's gone?
Yes. Yeah, he doesn't remember anything. I asked him if he had any damage, if he had any marks or scratches or scoop marks or cuts or abrasions or anything like that. He says, nope, never had anything like that. He said, although one time he had to get treated for a urinary tract infection that they just couldn't understand how anybody could get something that bad that quick, because he had only been through an annual physical about 4 weeks before he went in with this urinary tract. And in an annual physical,